Okay. Here's a couple of anonymous ones. So, as an economist, can you explain what a discretionary trust fund is in simple terms and why and how they are being taxed?
So a fixed trust allocates to beneficiaries in a fixed proportion, which can't be changed. A discretionary trust allows those to be changed at will. So at the moment, we've got almost 1 million trusts in Australia, about double the number that we had at the start of the millennium. And those trusts, the income from those trusts flows disproportionately to those who have the most. So about 90% of trust wealth is held by the top 10, the wealthiest 10%. 95% of Australians don't see trust income. And while there are reasonable uses for trusts which won't be affected by the budget's decision, charitable trusts, farm trusts, fixed testamentary trusts, we are ensuring that for discretionary trusts, for new discretionary trusts, that there will be a minimum tax rate of 30% applying to all distributions. We've allowed a couple of years for these changes to come in, which means that for the very small share of small businesses that use trusts, for example, about 15% of small businesses use trusts, they'll have time to reconfigure their tax affairs. Most Australians won't be affected by this, but it will put in place a tax system that's fairer and which ensures that existing arrangements, such as an existing discretionary testamentary trust, will be able to continue, that we do have a fairer tax system for all Australians and an ability to continue delivering the sort of income tax cuts that we have. We've delivered 5 income tax cuts worth nearly $3,000 to the typical taxpayer, and we'll continue to deliver more tax cuts as we can.
So, what percentage of the population will the tax actually affect?
So it'll affect about 5% of the population. This is a measure which, as I said, will affect those in the highest part of the wealth distribution who are currently using trusts. Reasonable uses of trusts will continue, but trusts which are aimed at tax minimisation, and principally trusts work by using the tax-free thresholds of all of the family members, those sorts of uses will be more difficult. So, for example, you hear tales of people using trusts which distribute money to the grandparents, who then pay the private school fees for the kids. And that's a tax-advantaged use of trusts because the grandparents are in a lower tax bracket than the person whose activities are producing the income. Now that distribution will be taxed at a minimum of 30%, and so that will make that sort of income flow coming in from one person's business activities, going out to the grandparents, being used to pay the private school fees, that'll now be taxed at 30%.
So it's only going to affect 5% of the population.
That's right.
So, next question is, do you think describing it as a death tax is simply some elements of the media and some politicians trying to invoke an emotive response from people who don't really understand economics? Personal opinion.
Okay. I think you can set your watch by the inheritance tax fear campaigns. We abolished inheritance taxes in Australia in 1979, nearly half a century ago. No one in politics has any plans to bring them back, certainly not the Labor Party. What we've done instead is to put in place measures which crack down on the high use of discretionary trusts in order to minimise tax. You will still be able to make an inheritance tax-free under the new arrangements. You'll still be able to set up a fixed testamentary trust. You'll still be able to use an existing discretionary testamentary trust. So these are modest measures, but the hyperventilating doesn't surprise me. The inheritance tax lie was around in 2016 and 2019. Like Weekend at Bernie's, it gets wheeled out whenever people want to fearmonger about sensible tax reform.